the chart of account. Look about the currency. And we look about the accounting method. Unfortunately, I did not record or save last time, workings. So I don't have it, but do you think you have any question regarding these 3 or 4 items?
No, I don't have a question. I just sketchy notes, so maybe I was going through segment values, but I did not
Sorry?
the examples you are giving, I did not capture them in my notes.
You did not capture what?
The segment values. So maybe that's why I got confused, but I don't have any specific question.
Okay. So we talked about the company, department, and accounts. So we said these are, what did we call these?
The description.
Yes, but on the continuation of almost conclude about the description. The description is what I explained. I used to explain how we are live on these 3.
Yeah.
But at the end, we came to mention about something called primary ledger. And I said the goal of understanding this together with these 3, and of course the 4th one, is to be able to create the primary ledger. You remember that?
Yes, I do.
What makes up the chart of accounts?
Chart of accounts. Can't remember.
Yeah, so the reason why we talked about, remember here we talked about under the calendar, we had an item called date.
Yeah.
And then under the charts of accounts, we had description. And the reason why we had the date is because we cannot just book a transaction without knowing when it happens.
Yeah.
So through the date, we were able to see another feature in the system that it's called a calendar. And through the calendar and through setting up and configuring a calendar, that's when we can be able to have a date.
Yeah.
All these we were looking because we had an item or an issue called transaction. Sorry.
Yeah.
We had a transaction that we needed to book.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So through booking this transaction, checked and see date is important. And for us to be able to have a date, we need to have a calendar in the system. So all these are in the system. All these are in the system. But the key goal, the transaction can be outside the system. And for it to be booked in the system, we need date, we need description. Description is showing where this transaction originated from or what caused the transaction to happen. And that's where we ended up with these 3 items. And through these items, I gave a name, and I can see you are not remembering the name.
Segments.
Exactly, that's what I'm looking for. These are segments. Okay.
Yeah.
And under these segments, we have what? Can have company 1, we have company 2, we have company 3, company 4, and so forth. Then department 1, department 2, department 3, department 4, department 5, department 6. We have thousands of accounts. Can start with any number. Okay.
Yeah.
Can choose to name them according to the number it pleases. In other organization, you can find they are like 10, 10, 20, 10, 30, 10, 40, 10, 50, 10, 60, 10, 70, 10, 80. Accounts, we don't have limitation. You can create as many accounts as possible based on the transaction that your organization needs, or you might find they are triggered by the needs of your business operation.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have 1100. So when it comes to accounts, you can have as many as possible. Okay.
Yeah.
So what did we name this?
The segment values.
Good. So we say these are called segment value. We have segments and we have segment values. So segment values, we say that all these will be under a certain organization. X, okay, you can call it company ABC Limited. Okay.
Mm.
Say this is the organization name.
Yeah.
You have organization name. But for us to be able to access or to be able to create this tool, we first of all need organization name, and we'll need something we call accounting key text field. Remember that?
Yeah.
And these 3,
Mhm.
I'm bringing this here. So for us to be able to access the organization, or for us to be able to create segment and segment value, we'll need accounting key flex field. And through accounting key flex field, that's where we'll be able to create these 3. Okay. Accounting key flex field, we only access it through an application called let me put the other one here.
General.
Through application called Generate. On a very high level, this is what we looked at. And we concluded that With these three, you can be able to create primary ledger. Okay. Not primary ledger, but chart of accounts. With these three, you can be able to create charts of account. And now the chart of accounts, it adds to next to calendar. So the first one we looked at is calendar. Then we looked at the how to look at the date. It was able to give us how we can come up with a calendar. We look at the description, and then through the description, we say that the description is what will show us or will help us to track the transaction to whichever account it was incurred for or it was incurred for. Okay. So for example, if it's company 2, we usually book our description as company 2 and then department maybe 4 and maybe account 1080. In the system, that's how we will provide the description. That's why the reason why we were trying to come up with this formula, the goal was to see what are these, what do we call this, and what do we call this. So in the system, we have segment. These are called segments in the system. And these, which are below the segments, they are segment values. But now, how can we be able to create segment values? We'll have to provide, first of all, the organization name, because the organization name, for example, is ABC Limited. All these has to be under ABC Limited. So through creation of organization name, segment, and segment values, we can be able to create chart of accounts. And how do we access the features that can be able to enable us create organization name, segment, and segment values? It is through an application called General Ledger and a feature called Accounting Key Flex Suite. You can be able to access all this. So that's all what we looked last time. I hope I am giving you a recap for what we were trying to look last time. Then we were being able to look at the currencies that are available. And we said that when we have all currencies are in the system. What we do, we only enable. And we also said that accounting methods we select. Okay. But now the four of them, these four of them, or let me copy. Let's copy. This them somewhere like here. The four of them, with these three, can be able to create a primary ledger. You can be able to create a primary ledger. And of which, with this primary ledger, you can be able to book transaction in general ledger. General ledger responsibility. That's what we checked last time. Then we said, with the addition of accounting methods, through selection of calendar, charts of accounts, currency, and accounting methods, we will be able to create primary ledger. And now the whole of it, with the addition of the fourth C, we call them four C's. Call them 4 C's. With 4 C's, you can be able to create a transaction in all other subledger accounts, subledgers. Call them subledgers. Subledger applications. Okay. So how do we, if you can be asked, how do we create primary ledger? It's through selection of calendar, charts of accounts, currency, and accounting method. You will be able to create the primary ledger. Let's see it. So say now we have primary ledger. We have been able to select all these four and we have created the primary ledger. What happens before you create the primary ledger? You can be able to create the application called general ledger responsibility. The application is already there. The application is already there. We don't create the application. So what happens? We map or we attach the primary ledger to general ledger. So for example, take an example of a paper and you want to attach that paper into to a wall. So this is an example. For you to be able to attach this paper into a wall, can you just go ahead and attach it?
Something to
What do you need?
maybe glue or
Yeah, glue.
tape.
Yes, so you'll need some glue. Okay. So the same case, what happens when it comes to the primary ledger? Primary ledger view, you will also need something we call profile option. You need profile option to be able to attach the primary ledger into general ledger responsibility or general ledger application. So what happens is that the creation of calendar, chart of accounts, currency, and accounting method. These two, we don't create. This one we select. In fact, the currency we enable. That's the best one. Okay. There's accounting method we select. But these two we create. Okay. Chart of accounts we create. So you have to get these differences and you get the points clear. What do we create? What do we get in the system? So these are seeded, meaning they are coming with the system or with the application. But the calendar, chart of accounts, we have to create as a functional consultant. All right? Is it clear? So primary ledger, we have to use profile option to attach or to attach. We usually use the word assign. We don't use the word attach. We assign the primary ledger to the general ledger application for you to be able to book a transaction. You can't just go ahead because you have created a primary ledger and now assume like now you can go ahead and book a transaction. No, you will need to, once you have done with the creation of primary ledger, you will need to go and assign primary ledger to general ledger using a profile option. And that profile option, like glue, if you happen to go to buy a glue, it has a name, specific name, right? The same case applies to profile option. The profile option are several. So the ones that we usually use to assign the primary ledger to general ledger, we call it GL ledger name. So the GL ledger name is the profile option that we use to assign primary ledger to general ledger application. And now you usually assign all other applications so that you can be able to book transaction into all other sub-ledger applications. So you will have to assign all other applications, not only the general ledger, but all other application to, you assign primary ledger to all other applications so that it can be able to allow you to book a transaction and go ahead. Is it clear? So today we'll be able to look at with this being the most of the class we've been covering purely and kind of not even knowing how does the application look. I want to take you through how the application looks like, okay? So we'll use this is our landing page or login user interface, whereby I said are you able to see my screen of a browser?
Yes.
So normally the EBS application will be looking like this. Okay. So there's something I wanted to show you. Let me see. Let me explain this. So for example, when you're logging in an instance, you'll be having this kind of links. Okay, the URL links. So for example, I said when you are creating or you are doing an implementation, you'll have to have several instances. Okay. So the first instance you might have is test. Okay. And you might find it has a different port. Maybe this one could be 443. Sorry. This one could be 444. This one could be 445. So the test, we have test, we have dev, and we might have now the prod instance. So I explained that these instances will be used differently based on the need or the goal of the project. And the test instance is where we say that this mostly is used by functional consultant and also the users to test what they have developed for the client. Then the development is for using when it comes to developing the functionality or solutions that has been requested by the client in terms of when there is customization. Then we have production. Production is for the user or for the client to be able to book the real transaction. So mostly you will need to note that sometimes you will need to, as a functional consultant, you have to know that which instance are you logging in. You know, sometimes you might find you have so many projects and you're getting confused. Like when you are trying to log into test instance, you might find the test instance that you are logging in is for a different client. So you are providing the credentials for logging in. Credential for logging in is the username and now the password. You might find you are providing the username and the credential and the password which is wrong, and it will tell you that you cannot be able to log in. So those are some of the key things you may need to master or to capture when you are working as a functional consultant on Oracle EBS financials. So this is how the logging interface look like. You provide the username. For example, I've created already my user or a user under my name, and also I have a password. Click login or press enter. So once you log in a fresh instance, I told you that you'll not find these. These are the responsibilities that I've been talking about. But in a fresh logins, you will not find these responsibilities. You'll find like you only have a system administrator responsibility. And through the system administrator responsibility, you can be able to do other functionality, even creating these I'm showing responsibility here. You can be able to achieve all these through this responsibility called system administrator. So the system as a functional consultant or as a system admin, the DBA will give you credentials to log in, and you log in once the DBA has installed the application on the client server. The DBA will go ahead and create these instances. They will create the test instance, the dev instance, and they will be creating the prod instance. So once the DBA has created the test instance, they will give you credentials for system administrator. And that's where I mentioned in a previous video, they will give you sysadmin username as, you'll have username as sysadmin. Mostly they usually give as sysadmin, and the password also will be sysadmin. So once you have been given this one, you can be able now to come in and start building or configuring the system according to the nature of how you want to achieve, like the applications and responsibilities that needs to be used. You can be able now to configure them through the system admin. And that one is something I'll be coming to show you. But before we get there, on our learning today, we have checked about the calendar. We've been learning about the calendar. We have been learning about the chart of accounts. And these two, we said these are the ones that we create. We do create these two. So for today, I would like to show you how we create the calendar, okay? But before we get there, I talked about an application. And I said under application, we usually have menu and we have submenu. These ones, we call them responsibilities. Through application, we can be able to create a responsibility. Already, application is in the system. It is seeded in the system. But through that application, we can be able to create responsibility. Because here, what did we say? What did we say here? What does it mean, like, for example, because we have assigned primary ledger to general ledger, does it mean a user can go ahead and book a transaction? Can a user go ahead and book a transaction?
Yeah.
How?
Mm, I don't know. I'm not getting the question.
So this is GL application,
Mhm.
okay? But
Yeah.
we said when I
Mhm.
was talking about let me see that folder. Let me see that folder. It was about application. This one. I'm talking about the application. We said for a user to be able to book a transaction, they need
Right of responsibility.
a responsibility. A responsibility is nothing else than this. These ones you can be able to see
Mhm.
here. Okay. So there's no way a user
Yeah.
will be able to book a transaction without a responsibility.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah.
You remember?
Yeah.
And then we say, and through this in an application, like for example, ABC application will have menu. This one we said we can say it's AP application. We can call it AP application. So under this application, we have menu, we have submenu, and we have function and features. You remember that?
Yeah.
So coming here, through the creation of a responsibility has the sub menu, and it has the features. So when we create a responsibility, we will attach menu, but we cannot see the menu here. Okay.
Yeah.
What we will see here is submenu and features.
Mhm.
For example, this is payables vision operations.
Mm.
Or you can come here to general ledger vision operation. If I expand it, you can see here there is an arrow saying that expand. Are you able to see?
Yeah.
If I come here and click expand,
Mhm.
the general ledger vision operation USA expands, and it gives me more options to choose from. Okay.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
these options is what I'm calling submenus. There are submenus.
Okay. Mhm.
There are these menus. Submenu.
Mhm.
The menu we cannot be able to see it because this one it is what is attached to be able to create the responsibility.
Mhm.
So under this responsibility, what you should understand is that we have menu in it, but we cannot see the menu. So what we'll see is on the application side, on the front end, we'll see the
Mhm.
submenu, and submenu are these ones, and we have features. For example, this one is a feature or a function.
Mhm.
See, this one has a kind of like a graph icon here on side.
Mhm.
This is a feature or a function because
Mhm.
under it, you cannot drill any more down.
Mhm.
You cannot drill anymore. You can just click it and go to what exactly it does. Am I clear?
Did you create that the menu, or is it seeded? in the system.
It is seeded. Menu is always seeded in the system. You just select when creating this responsibility. And it's something you'll come to see how we select it. Is it clear?
Yes.
So I've said this is a
Submenu.
no.
Yes.
What do we have under application?
We have the menu, submenu, and the features.
Yes. And I've said submenu, you can be able to expand it further. You can see like this one.
Okay.
I think I had not said that one, sorry. Submenu, you can be able to expand it further to get the down or drill down. You go to the level of more features or even more submenus. For example, if we expand something like payables, you'll find we have invoices. If we expand invoices is a submenu already. We have another submenu under invoices. You can as well expand it so that you can go up to the level of features. Does it make sense? Yeah, so the level at which you cannot expand anymore, that one is a feature or a function. Okay. But where you can expand, you see it looks like a folder. It has an icon of a folder. So you can either collapse or expand. Okay. Is it clear? Now, another thing you should notice when it comes to the
so that's a feature.
Sorry?
The one you are pointing, that's a feature.
Which one now?
It's a blitz report. So now that's a feature.
Now this is a feature. Okay. Or a function. Because it will once you click it, it will directly take you to what it does or the environment of what it does. For example, if I click on, let me give you an example with something that you're more conversant with, an invoice. If I click on invoices, it will take me to a page or a form which you can be able to book an invoice. So there's nothing else you can do in that form apart from booking an invoice. Then, or rather, working with invoices. Okay. Then, something else I wanted you to note is there is this feature here. You see, this one is different with this one.
Yeah.
So this one will take you to Oracle pages. I mean, Oracle forms. Oracle forms. And this one will take you, if you click on this one, it will take you to Oracle pages. It's a web page. If I click here, you can see it will load a web page. Okay. This one we call it a navigator. So you access all the responsibility through these 3 lines here called navigator. If you want to know who has logged in, you can be able to look at this far end on your right top. You can be able to see who has logged in. You has logged in as who.
Yeah.
Then if you want to log out, you have an icon here for logging out. This is home. Home, it will take you back to the landing page where you will, once you log in, you will land, or the application main page. So we have some setting here. We have several settings, preferences. Okay, this is all about what you want to achieve. We have a bell here showing notifications. So, like for example, if you are working as a manager somewhere or a user, all the notification that all the transaction that involve or need your attention, you will get the notifications here. You understand?
Yes, I do.
And this area, it will be showing the name of probably the company that you have logged in or you're working on. So let's go back to our responsibility, features, some menu, and so on. So once you, if for example you click on, I've said that if you click on the feature that has an icon showing like it's a page, you see it looks like a page. It's like a page of a book. It will take you to web pages. It will launch a web page whereby you can continue working on that web page based on the needs that you want to achieve. But if you click the one looks like a graph, this will open a form. Call them Oracle forms. So for example, let me click enter. We call them Java forms. Sometimes you can call them Java pages. So this is how the Oracle forms, Oracle forms looks like. So for example, I've opened the journal forms. See, it can be able to tell me I find a journal. If I'm looking for a journal that has already been created in the system, I can be able to find it through providing the parameters. Parameters are like metrics or kind of conditions. Call them conditions or specifications. If you know, probably it's a journal batch, you provide the batch name, the journal name, the ledger, source, all these. Then you click find. It will help you to be able to query or trigger the database to give you now data on these forms. You understand?
Yeah.
So basically, this is how the forms looks like. They have, you'll find some have headers and the others have lines. For example, let's open for invoices. So now that I've clicked a journal, feature to open journals forms, directly the system will take me and will open the general ledger application. You can see here, this is general ledger application, Vision Operation USA. So remember I told you there is an instance that Oracle created and they put data on it for learning purposes. This is the one I'm using, okay? And it's the one that we will continue using to learn. So basically, that's why you can be able to see it's a general ledger responsibility, but it has an additional name saying is Vision Operations USA. You might have general ledger, you add your organization name. When you are creating for an organization or implementing for an organization, you will put general ledger, then you add the name based on how that organization would like to see the application or the responsibility looks like. You understand?
Yes.
So there's other so many tools that you can be able to use here once you have opened the Oracle application. Now this is the application, all of it, because in here you can be able to navigate. You can be able to change this responsibility and go to, like for example, payable. You go to cash management. You go to fixed asset. You go to accounts receivable, accounts payable, and so on and so on. So you are supposed to be able to understand this area because this is what you'll be working mostly with. So you might find when you have opened a certain page or not opened, when you have opened a certain page or not opened, you will find there are some features which will not be active and some will be active. For example, you can see here we have a plus. It's not active. All these are not active. There is a torch, there is a timer, there's a folder here. All these are not active. But when you come to this one, it is active. And it is telling you can switch responsibility. So what does that mean? You can click on it, or if you click on it, you can be able to see all other responsibility that are under this user. I told you, for you to book for a user to book a transaction, they have to have an access to a responsibility. And that's why all this responsibility, a user can be able to book a transaction because they have access to this responsibility. As a system administrator, you can deny an access of a user access through denying them or detaching a responsibility from them. And you can also attach or assign a responsibility to them so that they can be able to continue working or do something or book a transaction in a certain responsibility. So if you click on switch, I wanted you to familiarize yourself with this switch. You can be able to see all responsibilities that are attached to this user, the user S Gachohi that we logged in with. So if you want now to stop working on general ledger responsibility, you can, maybe probably you want to switch to payables, or you want to switch to human resource, okay? Or you want to switch to cash management, okay? You can just select it. You can just select it, or you can even say you provide percentage here. You see there is this find option. Are we together?
Yeah.
You can provide percentage, and for example, if there are so many responsibility and you cannot see the one that you want, you just type cash and click find. If you type cash, look at this finder. It will act as if I've clicked it. Okay. You see, it has brought me all the responsibility that has cash in them. So if you can continue and be specific, add more specification. Okay.
Yeah.
Click find. You'll find it will continue giving you the specific ones. Okay.
Yeah.
If, for example, I add the one that has treasury, I think this one is supposed to start.
You have to use that percentage to search.
Sorry?
The
Sorry?
percentage symbol you're putting before each one. The percentage symbol.
What about it?
Like you have to use that to search the
Yeah,
responsibility.
it helps you to query the responsibility first, or to query the data as fast as possible, or to narrow down. Okay. For example, let me look for responsibility with treasury. You see, there are so many here, but if we click there, it will give me only the ones that has the names treasury with them. You understand? So that's one example of showing how you can work with this feature. So you'll find some are not active and others are active based on how the system has been programmed to work. So if, for example, let me open treasury, see what we have here. So, and something else before I even open that. Once now you have landed here, and you open one of the forms. Okay, you open one of the forms here, the forms will open and give you the sub menu, or rather the responsibility and the sub menu on it. For example, if you can see the general ledger, the one that we opened with, this one, you select, click OK. All these sub menus are the ones we can be able to see here. Let me collapse it here, then expand, then collapse journals. So all these submenus from the feature blitz report to consolidation, if you shift, you can see we have them all here. Okay, so you don't need to come back in the landing page and click. For example, if it's inquiry, you click inquiry. Once you have opened the application, you just go direct to where you want to navigate. And you have these additional features here whereby you can either expand or collapse. Okay.
Yeah.
They are all for you to be able to navigate the features and submenus and features just the way you want. Okay. So here we have file. Once you click file, you can be able to see what you can be able to do. It's all about giving you the function that you can be able to do when you click each and every tab. It will be active. For example, you can open, meaning I can open this inquiry that I have already selected here. Then the other one which is active is switch responsibility, meaning I can be able to use this feature to be able to switch or to change from this responsibility, general ledger, to another responsibility. I can use this as well, exit Oracle applications. So all these has different features. So as you continue to learn, you'll be able to see where we touch for this. Where do we touch when we are doing this? All these will be able to help you to achieve that or achieve different functionalities. Okay. Are we together?
Yes.
So, for example, if I switch or even I open I switch to payables. So under payables, you can click enter, or you can double tap, or you can double click. For example, I collapse it. I collapse invoices. I can double tap to expand it, or if I collapse it, I can enter, click enter. Once you select it, you can click, double tap it, or double click, or on it, you can press enter on your keyboard. It will still expand. Okay.
Mm.
Once you have expanded like that, you can see there are some menus, just like I was telling you. There is entry. If you click enter, it will expand more. And when you can see there is no plus or minus, you know that now that's a feature. You cannot expand or go down more on it. So, for example, if I click enter on invoices, it will open the invoice workbench. You see this window. Okay. The window is even saying its name is invoice workbench under payables. And this is what this application is, Oracle accounts payable. So here you can be able to book an invoice. You can be able to approve an invoice. You can be able to validate an invoice. You can be able to process the payment of an invoice. All workings you can be able to do under all workings related to invoices. You can initiate them from here. So this one is a Oracle forms. Call them Oracle forms. All right. So if it's a user who is now has been assigned to create invoices, they usually normally use this workbench. Okay. So something that can you see the difference on these icons?
Yeah. They're
What's the difference?
clickable.
Yeah, they are active. We usually use the name active.
Yes.
And when they are not active, like this one, we usually say they are inactive. So for example, this one means you can be able to start a new page, or add a new line, or add something new just on what you are doing. If it's active, it means you can be able to add a new thing. For example, you can be able to say, for example, if I click new, okay, because already we have not committed the first line, but if the first line was committed and all this area has been provided with data, you could see that it has taken me to the second line, ready to create another transaction or another record of what I was previously doing. So that's how these icons work. So if, for example, you look on, you point on the second one, this one is showing you find. You see, it's a torch. It's a torch icon. A torch means you can use you usually use a torch to find. So if I click on it, let's see what will happen. You see, it has brought another page that I can use to, if I provide parameters here, I can be able to click find and it will give all the invoices. For example, here, the name of this window or this form, Oracle form, it is find invoices. So it means through this window, you can be able to find invoices that has been already created initially. Are we together? So what you need to do is to know, for example, maybe you may be knowing the first parameter or the first condition that you can provide is the trading partner details. If you know the name of the trading partner is nothing else rather than the supplier name. or vendor. So if you know the vendor name, you can come here and provide that information and click find. It will pull all the invoices under that vendor. If, for example, you don't want to pull all the invoices, you want only a certain invoice and you have his invoice number, you come here and provide the invoice number and click find, and you know already that invoice is in the system. If the invoice is in the system and you click find, you provide the invoice number and you click find, it will show you that invoice. If you don't know the invoice number but you have the idea of the date, you can provide the date range. That is from maybe a certain date. For example, let me show you, maybe from 1st of October to maybe today is when?
15.
Today is it 15?
Yeah.
Or 13?
15.
Up to today. So if you know that those invoices were created in this date range, you click find, it will pull all the invoices. If that doesn't work, for example, I know there is no maybe an invoice I've created on this day, but probably there is, because this instance is used by so many people. If I click find, you see there are some invoices here that were created on this date, or are in the range of these the dates that we have provided. So it's showing there is what happens in this invoice workbench. There is details related to the supplier, and there are details related to the invoice. Once remember when I was taking you through the P2P process, I told you once you receive goods, you'll also expect to receive an invoice from the supplier.
Yeah.
So once you receive an invoice from the supplier, that the details in that invoice, they are the ones you'll use to book an invoice in this invoice workbench. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
So, and I told you, you will need to first of all maintain the supplier details in the system before you can come and book an invoice. Because through creating a supplier in the system, the system will give the supplier a supplier number, a unique supplier number. And that unique supplier number is what I'm pointing right now, or I have like highlighted here. Are you able to see it? So I was trying to give you the example of how we work with these features. And that is the example of it. When you click on this, these are saved. So once you click on save, after providing the details of an invoice, the system will save that detail in the database. Okay. And now once you have saved, you can use the find icon to retrieve that invoice. So these invoices I've created before, and I use this icon to save them in the database. But now I've used this icon to query them back so that I can be able to see them. So in that, there are so many information here under the supplier workbench, of which I don't want to talk about it right now. This one we will discuss when we'll be learning about accounts payable and invoices. So in our next class, now that you have understood the application, how it looks like, we will look on how to create the calendar. Okay?
Yeah.
Look on how to create the calendar, and I will give you access to the instance. I'll create a user for you, and whatever we will be doing here, you will be practicing on your own. Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you will have those credentials after tomorrow's class.
Okay.
Any question?
None.
Okay.
No.
All right. So if you have no question, we can call it a day. Right? I think we have used almost 1 hour, 1.5 hour, 1 hour, 40 minutes.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, Anne, and have a good night.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Okay, bye.